Today I'm revealing the updated method I've used to grow multiple YouTube channels from 0 to tens of millions of views and over 100,000 subscribers. And this method works even if you're a complete beginner starting from 0, or if you've been doing this for a while but your channel is dead as a YouTube rewind.
It's rewind time.
So let me show you exactly what it is and how it works. See, once upon a time, I got this email from Joseph, and he said, I've been trying to do YouTube for a while, but I just can't seem to get over 10 views on any videos, no matter what I do. And Joseph's email kind of hit me because it reminded me of, well, me, which is the opposite of good. No offense, Joseph. Because when I first started YouTube, I tried 11 different types of content, posted around 65 videos, and yet my videos all got between 10 and 40 views. And everyone just keeps telling you, be consistent, never give up. But after an entire year of being consistent, I had barely dragged my sorry ass across the 150 sub mark. But then I discovered this method, and I went from getting 15 subscribers per month to getting over 1,000 subscribers each month in a little over 6 weeks. And in this video, I'm going to reveal my updated version of this method and break down exactly how it works. And to make up for insulting him earlier, I'm going to give you examples of how I would apply each step using Joseph's channel. But before I do that, I need you to promise me something, because if you don't, there's a very high chance your YouTube channel will fail epically. See, this is the video I wished I had when I was a struggling YouTuber. In the 8 years I've been on YouTube, I've never found a channel that's properly doing the 9 things in this method, but isn't seeing massive success. So please promise me that you won't watch this video and move on to the how to get 100,000 subscribers in 2 minutes video. Because like Derek Sivers would say, if more information was the answer, we would all be billionaires with six-pack abs. So my challenge for you is to commit to this video. Rewatch it as much as you need until you've fully internalized all 9 points of this method, then tattoo them on your eyelids and take action. So let's get started. This is Joseph's channel. Can you guys spot a blaring issue? Here's a hint. Psychologists have shown that doing something frequently and consistently, like posting YouTube videos, helps you build mental momentum and motivation. Streaks are a good example of this. So like if you post one video every week for 10 weeks, you're going to be more motivated to post an 11th video on the 11th week because you wouldn't want to break your streak, right? But as we can see, Joseph has only posted one video, and upload frequency, aka how often you create videos, is super important, and that's why it's my 9th point on the GYGC method. Well, how much should I upload? This is going to be controversial, but I believe quality content uploaded less frequently will ultimately beat quantity content spammed out at a super rapid rate. As Mr. Beast put it,
it's much easier to get 5 million views on one video than 50,000 views on 100 videos.
But the thing you need to understand is that it's a paradox, because quality comes from quantity. The more videos you post, the more practice you get at creating content, and so the better you get at creating content. So how often should you upload? My general recommendation is 2 to 3 times per week. Now, at minimum, you should be uploading one video every 2 weeks. But if you are doing that, just bear in mind that your growth, both in terms of views and subscribers and your personal growth as a creator, is going to be far slower. And so if that is you, instead of just resigning yourself to your fate, see if you can find ways to adjust your content style so that you can post content more frequently. But here's the thing, even if you are posting content frequently, your channel will be as dead as Joseph's, no offense Joseph, if you don't do this next thing. I've got a question for you. What is it about Joseph's channel that would make someone want to watch him rather than one of the other 50 billion YouTubers on the platform? Now, you might think that's an unfair question because you haven't seen his video yet, but I have seen his video, and the answer to the question is there isn't really a reason why you'd watch him over someone else. With so much competition out there, you want to try and distinguish yourself from the noise. Now, you don't have to distinguish yourself in a massive way, but it has to be something tangible enough that a viewer could probably actually put a finger on it if they thought about it. And normally, if a viewer can't put a finger on what it is they like about you above everyone else, then that thing isn't strong enough. And I call these things your X factors. They're the things that make you uniquely appealing and valuable to your viewers in your niche. And X factors are the 8th point on the GYGC method. Now, to discover your X factor or X factors, it can help to ask this question. If someone had a hypothetical interview with your biggest fan and asked them why you are their favorite YouTuber, what would your hypothetical biggest fan say?
Oh, don't cry.
What characteristics or value do you bring to the table that they would highlight and would cause them to rank you above the rest? Would they say you have a cool backstory or relatable life circumstances? Would they say you're just the most genuine, authentic person they know? Would they say you're able to teach stuff in a way that's just far clearer and quicker than all the other tutorials out there? Or would they just say you're the most unbelievably good-looking person they've ever seen? Now, this X Factor list could be almost endless, but the principle here is if you struggle to come up with a realistic reason or reasons why your hypothetical biggest fan would love your channel above everyone else's, then chances are that fan will probably continue to be hypothetical. Now, it's impossible for me to give Joseph here specific advice as to what his X Factor should be because it needs to be authentic to him. But one way I would try to uncover my X Factors is to think about the qualities I already have or the qualities I aspire to have, or the unique value I bring or aspire to bring, and then intentionally exaggerate those things and highlight them and work on them until they become noteworthy enough that people actually start noticing and appreciating them. But in the scheme of things, just being different isn't enough, because while clear X Factors do give you a chance of getting far more views and lower subscribers, there are still some missing puzzle pieces. And to help me explain the next piece, let me tell you a quick story. When I was younger, there was a particular YouTuber I used to watch pretty frequently. He uploaded pretty frequently and he had some X Factors that I found super appealing. He was really funny, he was down to earth, and he involved his family in his videos. And for a number of months, I remember religiously watching this person. He was my favorite YouTuber, but then something changed. He started trying to act cool. He stopped filming videos with his family. He jumped on the whole diss tracks and debate train. And while he had every right to grow and evolve as a person and a creator, I just found myself not really liking him much anymore. I used to be able to come to his channel, turn on one of his videos and get a certain type of experience, but now when I came to his channel, I didn't know what was in store for me. I couldn't trust him anymore. I used to feel like I knew him and I could rely on him to be a certain type of person, but now he was just too inconsistent. And so even though the algorithm kept promoting his videos to me for a while after that, I stopped clicking on them and I stopped watching them. And this would have sent negative signals to the YouTube algorithm about those videos, which made it less and less likely that the algorithm would promote future videos to me or people who have similar viewing habits and interests as me. And eventually the algorithm just gave up entirely and just stopped promoting. And what we can learn from this example here is that if you're very inconsistent, it's going to confuse your viewers and the algorithm, which leads to less promotion and less views. And that's why consistency is the next point on the method. Now, it's hard for me to rate the consistency of Joseph's channel here because he's only got one video, but hopefully as the example I just shared illustrated, you should know that consistency matters, and there's a lot more to consistency than just having a consistent upload schedule. Being consistent includes things like your attitude, your personality, your branding, the types of videos you create, the style in which you create those videos, the lines you're willing to cross and not cross, and the list could go on. Now, being consistent doesn't mean you can't evolve. You should evolve, especially if what you're currently doing isn't working. But especially when you do find something that works for you, be careful changing things up too drastically too quickly, because it'll confuse both your viewers and the algorithm, which will lead to less views and no promotion. But what's the most important thing to be consistent about on your channel? Well, there is one thing that if you're inconsistent about it, could literally make or break your entire channel. Because one of the biggest problems we have on YouTube is competition. For example, if you're creating Minecraft Let's Plays, you are by default competing with massive creators for the attention of people who want to watch Minecraft Let's Plays. If you're creating GTA Funny Moments videos, you're competing for the attention of viewers who want to watch GTA Funny Moments videos by default against all of the other massive YouTubers who create those videos as well. And the problem with this competition is that the YouTubers you're competing with probably have more experience, they have more time, they have more money, they have bigger brands and existing followings. So really, chances are you're probably just going to get your ass handed to you and not get any views. So the trick is to not compete. See, in order to be in competition with someone, you need to be doing the same type of thing as them. For example, the English Premier League's Manchester United don't have to worry about competition from the NBA's Chicago Bulls because while they are both elite sporting teams, they're not directly competing against one another. Hardcore fans of the Bulls probably don't care about United and vice versa because they're in separate categories, and so these two teams don't have to worry about competing for attention against one another. And that's one way you can get around the problem of competition as a small YouTuber. Because the chances of you finding a brand new type of content that literally has never been seen before and has X factors that nobody in the world has is pretty unlikely. But if you operate within the paradigm we just talked about, you'll realize that you're not actually competing against everybody in the world. You're only competing against people who are creating a similar category or type of content to you. And so your job is to find a category, aka niche, in which you can actually compete and make a name for yourself. And that's the next point in this method. Now, finding a good niche revolves around supply and demand. Your goal is to find a niche that's small enough that there aren't a stifling amount of huge creators who are pumping out so much content that you're just never going to be discovered. But at the same time, the niche needs to be large enough that there are tens or hundreds of thousands of viewers, aka demand, who actually want to watch that type of content. So coming back to Joseph's channel, I'd say his niche is probably something like Minecraft survival challenges based on the video he posted. So by default, he's competing for attention against YouTubers like these guys.
I'm going to attempt to survive the next 100 days in hardcore Minecraft.
And now I'm gonna be turning into the Kraken to see if I can survive 100 days against 3 fishermen with insane fishing gear.
Based on Joseph's content, which I checked out, I'd say that the competition is going to be too tough for him and he'd be better off doing some research to find another niche that might have less demand and less viewers, but is going to ultimately be less competitive until he develops a bit and grows. But if he does increase his upload frequency and nails the things I'm going to talk about later in this video, there is still a chance that he could potentially find a gap in the niche and make this type of content work for him. And so let me show you how I would do it if I was in his shoes. And even though this video is a very specific type of gaming video, these principles will apply regardless of what type of content you create. I'd start by fixing this huge mistake he's currently making. But to understand the mistake, you need to actually understand how YouTube works. YouTube's goal is to make money, and YouTube makes money by getting viewers to watch ads. For example, every time a viewer clicks on a new video, they get a new ad. YouTube makes bag.
I like money.
And generally speaking, the more time viewers spend on YouTube as a platform, binging videos, etc., the more money YouTube makes. So the algorithm is designed to reward channels that get viewers to spend, you guessed it, a lot of time on the platform. So for example, if you're a creator who has 3 videos, and on average, your viewers watch all 3 of your videos when they come to one of them, you're going to do a lot better than another creator who also has 3 videos, but on average, when people click onto his channel, they only really watch 1 video. So instead of just trying to increase your watch time on individual videos, you want to try and think about increasing your session time across multiple videos. If you get lots of session time, you'll get lots of promotion from the algorithm and views. So prolonging your viewers' overall sessions is super important, and that's why it's the next point on this list. And so Joseph here has a very obvious problem immediately, and that is that he only has 1 video on his channel. By default, if someone comes to his channel, there's not really much they can do to extend the session other than rewatching the exact same video, which most people probably aren't going to do. So right off the bat, the recommendation here is he needs to put at least 5 videos on his channel. So if someone comes in, enjoys one of his videos, they have a bank of other content that they can also watch. Now, you watching this probably have more than 1 video on your channel right now. And so if you do have that bank of content, your job is to make it as easy as possible for people to binge your videos. And 2 ways to do that could be creating playlists that automatically group your videos together and get people to automatically go from one video to the next video to the next video to the next video.
It's time to stop! Where the fuck are your parents?
And another thing you can do is to try to create call to actions at the end of your video that kind of create feedback loops where someone clicks on your video, they get to the end of your video, they hear you promote another one of your videos, and they click on another one of your videos, and they get to the end of that video and they hear you promote another one of your videos, so they click on that one, and they just get stuck in a web of your content, and the loop just keeps on going. So what's the easiest or best way to get people into feedback loops so you can start getting that session time flywheel cranking? Well, to do that, first you have to fix another massive mistake Joseph is making, which most of you watching this are probably also making as well, and it's making YouTube kill your reach. See, while creating this video, I watched Joseph's video a few times, and here are some things I noticed. The first second or so of the video is actually just a blank screen. Then it switches to a scene of Joseph standing in very non-ancient city-esque surroundings. There's not much going on at all, and as a viewer, it's not very stimulating for me. Then the following 30 seconds is spent where Joseph is crouch walking down a tunnel at a ridiculously slow speed as he drifts closer to imminent death at a painstakingly slow pace. Moving on from the intro, I could probably count the number of cuts in this video on one hand. And there are multiple sections in the video where there are between 5 and 10 seconds of silence in the commentary where not very much is going on. And these are all examples of things that make the video boring and confusing for your viewer, which makes it highly likely that the viewer will leave and click on someone else's video who can actually retain them. And this is bad because, one, if a viewer doesn't stick around on your videos and channel, they're probably not going to subscribe because it means they didn't enjoy their experience. The fact that they didn't enjoy their experience also means they're going to be less likely to watch your future videos if YouTube pushes them their way. And because they're no longer clicking on your future videos, it makes the algorithm hate you. And that's why the next point on this method is create highly satisfying content that retains your viewers. Now, I gave you some examples of friction points that are hurting Joseph's audience retention, but you might have your own things that are causing people to leave your videos. So you want to make sure that you're removing any filler content that could be boring for your viewers. Check out your analytics and see, are there drop-offs and things causing people to leave that you should eliminate from future videos? Especially if you don't have much data and analytics, just watch your videos yourself and try and put yourself in a viewer's shoes and notice your own emotions as you're watching the video. Or you can enlist the help of a friend, get them to watch your content and then watch their reactions. Notice when they're engaged, notice when they're bored, notice when they laugh, notice when they don't laugh. And then using all of this information, your job is to figure out how to create your future videos so that they are better and will get as many viewers as possible to watch all the way to the end. Now you might be saying, well, Marcus, that's all well and good, but the problem I have right now is that I don't have any viewers in the first place. If you're really struggling to get views to begin with, here's some advice. Now, as we've talked about, if you don't have good audience retention and get watch time, then you're probably not going to get subscribers or session time. But if we take a step back, if you don't have views in the first place, you're not even going to have an opportunity to get watch time. But if we take an even further step back, if you can't get people to click on your videos, then you can't even get views. And so improving your click-through rate, in other words, and making your videos more clickable when people see them listed on their homepage or in the search results is incredibly important, because if you can't nail that, then everything else just falls in a heap. And so if you can do one thing to get more promotion from the algorithm, in general, it's probably increasing your click-through rate. And so that's why increasing the percentage of people who click on your video after they see it is one of the most important points on the GYGC method. Now, the way you improve your click-through rate is primarily through your titles, thumbnails, and the first few lines of your description can play a small part as well. But basically, you need the things I just mentioned to grab your impressions by the eyeballs. And so instead of me just telling you how to design a good thumbnail or write a good title, I want to actually give you an example of how to do this, because I'm willing to bet Joseph's click-through rate for this video is pretty bad, and I'll show you exactly what principles and techniques I would use to design a high click-through rate title and thumbnail combo using Joseph's channel as an example. And even though this video is a very specific type of gaming video, these principles will apply regardless of what type of content you create. But before I can do that, I need to introduce you to one last concept. See, in 1976, a man named Jeffrey Stokes published a book, and the book was called Star Making Machinery, and it follows artists, musicians, engineers, and technicians, and all the creative people involved in the making of a typical rock album. And this old, little-known book contains the first citation in the Oxford Dictionary of this gem of a metaphor. You can't polish a turd. Now, despite the fact that you can in fact polish a turd, as proven by Mythbusters,
you know, the casual viewer might look at this and say, crap.
It's a great metaphor, and the dictionary defines it as to seek or improve something which is inherently or unalterably unpleasant or of poor quality. It's kind of like a movie plot. A movie can have the best actors, best marketing, the most hype, but if the core movie, like the plot, is terrible, the movie's probably going to get horrendous ratings. And so the lesson here is if you're trying to grow on YouTube, you can be the most creative editor on the platform. You can be the best thumbnail designer from a technical perspective there ever was. But if your video idea itself is inherently not interesting or useful to viewers, there's almost nothing you can do to make it blow up. And that's why having a great video idea, one that is enticing or exciting or solves a problem, is the next point on the G/GC method. And there are 3 types of great video ideas. The first are trending video ideas. These revolve a lot around timing, and they involve creating videos around trending topics, basically harnessing attention that's already out there. I call this trend surfing because surfing gives us a good analogy. Catching a trend involves a combination of being in the right place at the right time and timing. If you're too early, there's no wave of attention to catch and your video will just be dead in the water. If you're too late, the wave has already peaked, is breaking, and you're going to get overwhelmed and pummeled by the whitewash. But if you catch the wave just as it's rising up and it's large enough to propel you forward, but it's not so large that it's seconds away from breaking and becoming unbelievably messy and saturated, you'll do pretty well. And one of the best examples of a trending video I've seen is the MrBeast Squid Game video, which is obviously a great video in and of itself, but if it wasn't for the trend and success and hype around the Squid Game's TV show at that time, the video probably wouldn't have got anywhere near the amount of views it did. The next category of good video idea is extremely unique or noteworthy. It's the type of video that sparks interest and curiosity in a viewer, even if it's not based around something that's currently trending or hyped up. MrBeast is also a good example of this. He obviously uses trends to his advantage, but he also comes out with random, almost evergreen type videos, but they're so unique, extreme, and noteworthy that they really grab you for one reason or another. And usually these types of videos involve something like being the most, being the least, being the shortest, being the longest, being the fastest, the slowest, the hardest. But there's still one more type of video idea, and that is searchable videos. These videos tend to solve a specific problem and get the majority of their views from search. Think how-to videos. And while they don't blow up anywhere near as fast, they tend to be more evergreen. And these videos don't have to be extreme. In fact, they're some of the easiest videos you can make. But you do need to make sure that the video you're creating is very direct and clear in solving the problem that your audience have. Basically, you just want to reverse engineer exactly what people are actively looking for. Now, there are other categories of video idea, but these are the main ones. And video ideas is why I earlier didn't give specific feedback on Joseph's title or thumbnail or video, because improving what he's currently got would only incrementally improve his results, because I don't think his video idea is that good. Ancient cities are old news, so there's not really much hype or trend around that. And surviving in an ancient city also isn't something a lot of people are searching for. But the good news is we can take the ethos of this style of content but adjust the idea slightly and make it so much better. So personally, if I was doing this, looking at this type of video, I'd probably go down the extreme noteworthy angle. And there are a couple of different angles we could take. We could go with the survival angle, which would be something like, I survived in a cursed deep dark biome for 100 days. Or we could go with an angle of what actually happens in the video. In this video, Joseph survives and fights the warden mobs that spawn in the ancient city. And so we could make that extreme, maybe use some cheats or mods or something, and do something like, I fought 100 wardens in a cursed ancient city. Now, these two ideas are, I think, a lot better than what we currently have. But in a perfect world, I probably want to combine the survival and sort of unique horror combat aspect into one video, and that video could be one where Joseph tries to survive 1,000 days in hardcore Minecraft, but it's a horror game. There's all these kind of crazy creatures and bosses trying to kill him while he's trying to survive 1,000 days in this world. And I think the surviving for 1,000 days type videos tend to do pretty well because they're objectively interesting. It doesn't matter who you are, the fact that you've survived 1,000 days is interesting, and the horror angle is kind of cool. And now that we've got a great video idea, creating a great title and thumbnail becomes so much easier because I'm not polishing a turd. So for the title of this video, I'd probably go with something along the lines of, I survived 1,000 days in hardcore Minecraft, but it's a horror game. Or I survived 1,000 days in cursed hardcore Minecraft, or something like that. I could potentially go with both and like test both of them and see which ones get better results. And for the thumbnail, overall, I'd want to give it kind of like a creepy hellscape vibe. I'd probably do like a comparison thumbnail to show like a before and after, because those work quite well. You can see I've whipped up something here. We've got day 1 on one side and then day 1,000 on the other. arrow pointing across to kind of show like we went from this to this. The day one scene here is horror-esque. You can see it's almost got that Slender Man kind of pixelated horror vibe. And you've got old mate kind of creepily staring at you from behind a tree, but it also kind of gives off like just starting out vibes. You're in a forest, it's dark, there's no building around. It's very day one vibes. Whereas obviously the day 1000 is completely different. Now, one of the main problems I do have with this thumbnail is while keeping day one simple and making it feel like a day one is important, and also showing off what actually happened on day 1000 is also really important, the thing we are kind of missing is showing off the extreme sort of mobs that we encounter in the video. What I'm talking about would be something like this, say, and obviously we just need to move the text around and stuff to make it fit. In a perfect world, what I probably want is a shot that kind of has this day one vibe, but then I also want a kind of crazy extreme looking mob in there to kind of tease more of the cursed Minecraft horror aspect. But because I don't want to spend like an hour and a half creating a title and thumbnail that's probably never going to get used, this will do, and I still think this has a chance of doing pretty well. And then when it comes to the video content itself, we'd basically just reverse engineer what our title and thumbnail is to make sure we actually deliver on what it is that we're promising people. And there's another tip right there, is come up with your idea, title and thumbnail before you actually create your content. And overall, if we compare this hypothetical video to the video that's currently on Joseph's channel, which video would you watching this rather click on? I'm willing to bet it's the one I just laid out. But even though we're almost there, there's still one more point in the GYGC method, the number one most important thing you need if you want to succeed. And yes, it's even more important than what we just talked about. Because let's look at this practically. If you take a 30,000 foot view, over the long term, you are the driving force behind your channel. Without you, the GYGC method, or any other kind of growth method for that matter, is about as useful as a waterproof tea bag. Another way to think about it is if the GYGC method is your vehicle to success, then you are the engine. And if the engine isn't operating at its fullest, or if it just flat out breaks down and burns out, then regardless of how great the rest of the vehicle is, it's not going anywhere. So you're gonna hate me for saying this, but this is why I genuinely believe that cultivating a winning mindset is the number one most important point in the GYGC method, but it's really broad and vague. So the question is, how do you actually do that? I have been lucky enough to personally know and work with a bunch of very successful YouTubers, and here are some things I've observed about their mindsets. They surround themselves with people who lift them up and give them energy, rather than people who drag them down and deplete them. They have an almost unhealthy, obsessive level of hunger to succeed and overcome the obstacles no matter what it takes. While at the same time, paradoxically, they have the discipline to confront the most brutal facts about their current realities and patiently work towards doing what needs to be done at a day-to-day level to reach that ultimate level of success they're aspiring to. So if you really want to succeed, you might want to consider trying to gradually mold your mindset so you consciously start thinking in the ways I've just described. So from here, what should you do to actually put everything you just learned into practice so you can experience something like my 15 to 1,000 subscriber per month transformation? Well, obviously there's a hell of a lot of info in here, so if you're feeling completely overwhelmed, my suggestion to you is to rewatch this video until everything really sinks in and makes sense. But once you've done that, I've got a playlist on screen where I actually have individual videos on each of the points in the GYGC method that go into the points in even more detail. So I'd recommend check that out, go through those videos, and then start taking action on what you learned. Playlist is linked on screen, check it out, I'll see you there.